You know how Asians look at Westerners? Is the stereotype valid, or is it just a misunderstanding?
When I first came to Taiwan, it was something that blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it.
And Asians, we think, yeah, why are they so energetic?
The image of America is like, oh, people are pretty well off or they're rich, but I feel it's quite the opposite.
In Taiwan, generally people will not hold the door open for you.
Here in Asia, most of the time I'm holding the door open.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you really believe Spanish people are lazy?
Yeah.
I think for sure they're less productive. There's no question about that.
You're representing Spanish, so.
Yeah, I am the expert of naps, I guess. I am an expert.
Come and have a cup of tea with me to see the world beyond the eyes of tourists. Today, I've invited friends from 6 countries to discuss some of the most common stereotypes about the West. Stereotype number 1.
European men are gentlemen. Most of our panel speakers disagree. Robin, could you explain why you choose agree?
Yeah, I think it depends. Of course, I don't want to say that because like I am already European. I try to compliment myself.
Are you a gentleman?
Yeah, that was not the point. Being a gentleman, the woman is like old school. Used to be like that, but nowadays women are seen as independent. There are like some countries which are more famous for men are more romantic with women, like France,
England?
That's
only in the old movies.
Yeah. That's where it comes from, right? So you have this connection to the what you see in the old movies and how a man is supposed to be like. I think that there's still some people who take that as an example, okay, how you should behave. Yeah, but in the modern society, it's more like going away.
Gender equality. This is a big thing in Europe. I've been in Europe for almost 15 years. Nobody opened the car door for me. Like sometimes I was with groceries on my lap and I said, could you please open the door for me once? So I had to ask. And I got the explanation, yeah, it would be almost like a discrimination if we assume that the girls can't do it or the girls don't want to do it.
In my personal experience, and I kind of based my answer for this because I voted yes, and I kind of just based that really superficially on just the number of times that people have held the door open for me. Most of those circumstances were actually like with, I wouldn't say European, like Westerners. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whereas here in Asia, most of the time I'm holding the door open.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, but then listening to you, I do feel like maybe things have changed a bit now. Yeah, it might be seen to be insulting, like, oh, what, you think that, like, we can't open the door on our own, or, like, you think that you have to, like, we can't pay for our meals or something. Like, I think there's definitely a shift in attitudes, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but sometimes they actually do go out a bit of their way to open the door for you.
They make an effort.
I feel it's really nice. Like, they're not really standing right at the door, right? But then they will, like, rush in front and, like, help you hold it open. So yeah.
About this, I will have to compliment boys or men in Taiwan. I find them pretty sweet, holding bags or holding groceries, opening doors for ladies. And I would say that they are more of a gentleman than the men in Europe. But anyway, it depends on the personal experience.
I think I found in Taiwan, generally people will not hold the door open for you or will not say thank you. Because I hold the door open for many people, but I almost never get a response from people.
Really?
Yeah. Whereas in the UK, I think, I definitely have other people hold the door open for me, and I hold the door open for other people, men and women. So it's not a gender-based thing. Obviously it started with men holding the door open for ladies, but in Europe, it's pretty generic now across the genders. But in Taiwan, it's definitely not a culture thing here. I think when I do it for other people, they don't acknowledge me, and you know, they'll go through the door and just let the door go. They won't check back to see if anyone's behind them or anything. I think that's pretty general, at least in my experience here.
So it looks like we have a gentleman from the UK with us, Mark. Sorry about that. I'm speaking on behalf of Taiwanese. I will acknowledge your kindness for sure. I want to correct myself. I said earlier that Taiwanese men are pretty sweet, but maybe it's towards their partners, their girlfriends, maybe.
I think so, yeah, I see that a lot. I see a lot of Taiwanese guys carrying bags, carrying umbrellas, holding umbrellas over their partners, stuff like that. I think, yeah, you do see that quite a lot here.
Yeah. Our next question. Guys should pay for girls on a date. Yeah, most people disagree, but Ryan kind of agreed.
Did I agree? I don't think that should just be the default expectation from everyone. I think that generally it's nice, and of course traditionally it was maybe expected, but I think nowadays a lot of girls or women want to be more independent. It's possible even that depending on what kind of job you have, how much salary you make, or how much you earn, maybe it doesn't make sense for the guy to always pay for every meal. But if you say first date, I think that could have a different answer for some people than just like every time you go out. If the girl expects the guy to pay for every date, then I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. I think that it's nice if sometimes that the girl would also offer to pay. Just my opinion.
Selma from France, and she said, yeah, if the guy wants to plan a romantic date, then the guy should pay. But the rest, not. Yeah, the girl should take a fair share. Yeah, I guess that's most of our opinion as well. Moving on.
Westerners enjoy the present. Saving money is not important.
Do you guys think so?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a difference between the younger generation and the older generation. But I'm not sure that really has to do with Westerners in particular. I think that people are finding it harder these days to, I guess, survive in general. Like, not everybody has a good job. Not everybody, makes a good salary. Mm-hmm. But especially in America, I think for some reason the perception, the image of America is oh, people are pretty well off or they're rich. But I feel it's quite the opposite, actually. I feel like almost everybody's in quite a bit of debt. Everybody sees oh, my friend got a new car, they got a new house, they got a big screen TV or whatever. So everybody goes out and buys it, but they don't have any money to do it. So they use their credit card. So they end up racking up all this debt, and then depending on how much ever money they make every month between either themselves, if they live alone, or if they're with a partner or whatever, then it may be hard for them to pay even more than just the interest on everything. So every month they're living paycheck to paycheck. So I think a lot of people gave up the idea of saving money. It's not that they don't want to, it's that they may not actually have enough money each month to set aside anything. So I'm not sure that it's a Westerners only thing, but that's definitely something I think is different between older generation and younger generation.
Yeah, it's about the shopping behavior. Here I want to ask NE, as an Asian, how do you feel about this statement? I think this statement came from us. So what do you think?
Wow, I think even for Asians, I think there is a difference between the older generation and the younger generation. Maybe it's a millennials versus the what's that, Generation X. I think that the non-Asians were a bit more willing to, I wouldn't say enjoy the present, but they were more willing to take financial risks. which I actually thought was a good thing because a lot of, maybe because of our upbringing and stuff, you know, we are taught to save money, always like just save for a rainy day. And like to the extent that like, you know, we don't spend on things that we should actually spend money on. Like, you know, we try to save on a lot of things that could be quite harmful in the long run. You know, I've heard of like friends who like let's say, you know, like the air conditioner wasn't working. You know, the whole family is just trying to save and not spend money repairing it. Right. And then it just, you know, means that it's really
It might lead to health problems.
Yeah. So like things like that. Then people have the idea that, oh, if you spend on all these things, or like, you know, if you spend money on like having a good meal in the restaurant, it's kind of like enjoying life. And it's something like it's a frivolous, like it's a want, not a need. So I guess that's where this sentence comes from. But then I would argue that, you know, sometimes it's good to kind of indulge yourself a bit. Like, you know, it's good to kind of have these experiences as well. Yeah, and I do feel that like from my personal experience that Westerners are better at doing it. Yeah. That's my
Better
opinion.
are managing the risk. I agree that it's not really a difference between Westerners and Easterners because it exists between different generations. Yeah. Our next question: do you think Europeans are more relaxed with time? They work shorter hours? They have longer meal time? Alex, as a European, what do you think?
I think that generally it might be true that Europeans are more relaxed with the working hours. From my perception, it seems that Asians have longer working hours. I think there's this stereotype that the Japanese work, let's say, up to 12 hours a day sometimes. Of course, I don't think that's necessarily true for every Asian, but I think it still seems to be the stereotype. Europeans tend to place a lot of importance into keeping a work-life balance. So I think depending, of course, on which country in Europe, you will find that people work longer or shorter hours. I think people in Northern Europe might prioritize productivity as opposed to just longer working hours. And so they might place more importance on being able to keep that work-life balance and not be overwhelmed with the work.
True. I feel the same. You know, in Iceland, because they have a lot of dark days, a lot of people are writers. They can, of course, enjoy the social welfare, have their time doing something else. Yeah, I think it's the whole social system that created this. We're comparing East and West, and if we divide Europe, we're comparing the North and South. Yeah. Next one. Spanish is lazy. Like to take naps. Do you think it's true? False? Or you don't know? So Robin, do you really believe Spanish people are lazy?
Yeah, I think South European culture is more easygoing. That's really true. I mean, it's a very common stereotype. They don't like feeling stressed out, would rather take things slow, and not meaning that they are all lazy, but it's just like a sort of approach, like how do they do things, okay? And that's the norm, I think, in these southern European countries. Not only Spain, but Spain is pretty famous for that, yeah, with the siesta and like stores closing early. There's a siesta in all of Italy, yeah, right?
So not just
but the
Spain.
culture is different, yeah, in the south. I don't know what it is. Maybe the hot weather, okay?
Exactly.
So because you feel so hot, or you're too tired to work, and then you naturally just want to take a break, right? It's not that you're lazy, it's just hot.
Yeah. Imagine you, like, I'm not saying like walking on the desert and your body shuts down, but the heat can be really hard to bear. I think I was in southern Italy around a lake. I found that they have different closing hours as well, and they do take siesta, so it's not just Spanish people. What do you think,
Absolutely.
Alex? Yeah. we let the real Spanish defend himself.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused on this because I kind of have to agree with Robin. I do think it is a generalized thing that countries where the weather is warm, especially in summer, right after lunch, you just want to fall asleep, don't you? And so, yeah, I think in Spain it was quite common, let's say, I don't know, maybe a century ago, to take naps right after lunch, because people used to work 2 jobs, and so they would work 1 job in the morning, let's say maybe from 8 to 2, and then they would eat and go to sleep, and after that they would work their second job, so perhaps from 4 to 9 or something like that. Nowadays that's not so much the schedule anymore, so people usually have, I guess they would call 9 to 5 jobs in the US, but in Spain I guess they're more like 8 to 6 or 8 to 7. So a lot of people have a long time to eat, a long lunch break rather. So perhaps they work from 8 to 2 and then they work again from 4 to 7 or 4 to 8. But that gives us plenty of time to eat, but it doesn't quite give us enough time to sleep, unfortunately. So people really don't take siestas anymore. Yeah, it causes many people to miss out on some sleep and unfortunately perhaps not be as productive in the afternoon. But overall, I think that the Spanish work longer hours than the average European, but perhaps less productive.
I agree with you. Living in Spain, this is what I have noticed as well. You know, they would just split their days in half and have a siesta and go home for lunch. I think this is their system to have a better family life, because they're really close with their family and they want to go home to eat together. And whether they take siesta or not after that, my family here in Spain, they would, but not every day, but the average length of the nap is only around 20 minutes. So it's not like they sleep throughout the whole lunch break. And for many people, if they run shops, they will have to go back around 4 to 5 and continue until 9 p.m. So if you add those 2 shifts up, it might be more than 8 hours a day. So they do work longer hours. But whether they are productive or not, that's another thing. Yeah.
Probably. I think for sure they're less productive. There's no question about that.
Yeah, you're representing Spanish, so I'll let you decide.
I don't know, does anyone have experience with other parts of the world? Is it always South equal lazy? Like, how's it in Asia?
Yeah,
I think it's more South equals hot, I guess. So you don't want to be working in the afternoon when it's hottest.
But indeed, like in Taiwan, it's really hot in summer. It's like melting hot with the humidity. Tokyo as well. But they are not having siesta. True. In Taiwan, actually, we take naps too. In school, it's obligated to take naps after lunch. If you don't take a nap, you need to at least be quiet and, you know, put your arms on the table and your head down. You cannot chat, you cannot play around, otherwise you get like a bad mark on your conduct. 有风纪股长, they will be checking if you are sleeping or not. And
Taiwanese companies as well, taking naps. When I first came to Taiwan, it was something that blew my mind, really, that everyone, you know, in offices would take their lunch between 12 and 12:30, and then at 12:30 all the lights would be turned off in the office and everyone would slump over their desks and nap for half an hour, during which time no one would call because all other companies are doing the same. So the entire of Taiwan is napping between 12:30 and 1. It was just a fantastic image in my mind, and I just couldn't believe it you know, it could be, but it seems to be true. At least perhaps in old traditional companies. I'm not sure if modern ones would do so. It was interesting.
I think it has something to do with, for sure, the education system. And, we have 军训. We still have, how we call our classes. It's a ban. It's like a group in a military system. The education system in Taiwan, they inherit some military discipline. That it's mandatory to take the naps, for example, in school. And so it was a cultural shock for me when I went to Belgium, because usually during the break, people would just take a nap because it's really hard to stay awake in the class, at least for me and many Asian classmates. While the local students or other international students, they would go out to have a drink, coffee and chat. And Asians, we think, why are they so energetic? We have a custom in Taiwan to go to the library to study and to sleep. If you want a piece of quietness, you would go to the library and sleep. And I did that in the library of KU Leuven in the university in Belgium. I was almost kicked out. One of my friends said, why are you sleeping here? If you want to sleep, go back, go home.
My first day at university in France, I slept at the university library too, and I was shocked at the Western culture because they don't take nap.
The Japanese, they have to report to work really early and they work really long hours. So it's not uncommon for people to just go to like an empty meeting room in the middle of the day and just take a nap. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that like some sarariman, like some working people will also pay just to get a bit of quiet and sleep in the middle of the day. Yeah.
At my previous company, there's a special room, like a hotel room. You need to have the keys from, a secretary of VPs. It's like a hotel room inside. There's a bed and there's a shower and stuff. And it is used for people that taking long business trip and they need to get some rest. That room is also used for breastfeeding. There are more and more companies doing that if they try to be human. In the end, we're all human. We need sleep, and sometimes it just happens during the working hours. Sometimes we can't help it.
Yeah, I've dozed off at work before, so it happens.
Me too. Yeah.
It's not a good impression in Europe.
In Taiwan, it was a shock to me to hear that all companies shut at, offices shut at 12:30 and turn the lights off, and for half an hour. That was because my question was, what happens if you're doing work with other countries? Because but they couldn't
send
really
me a
answer
mail
because,
instead.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the phone system is cut off.
Leave
for
a
that
message.
half an hour. Maybe it goes to voicemail. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I made an appointment with a friend of mine for lunch, and she said she can meet me for lunch, but she has to stay out the whole hour. She can't go back in within that half an hour because she'll disturb her colleagues who are napping. I don't know, different way of thinking, I guess. But as I have never worked in a Taiwanese office myself, I don't know how prevalent it is these days. Like I said, I think modern companies probably don't do it. It's probably the old traditional companies have always done it. But again, I'm not sure.
In the Western culture, I saw individual people try to rest a bit, put their head on the table or at least lean back, closing their eyes. And usually around them, people still do their work and talk and are loud. And it's not really people expect the person to actually fall asleep. No one will be quiet for people trying to take a nap in Europe.
Over the years, I understand, okay, if I will go out, take a walk and take a coffee and chat with my colleagues or classmates, it gives me energy too to continue. But I think it depends just the energy source, how you get the energy. Some people take energy from sleep, And study shows 40% of our energy comes from sleep, and other things come from food, socialization, exercise, all these type of different sources. And sleep is so important.
I would say that's true throughout the world. And yeah, I guess good on the Asians for valuing sleep as much as they should. Yeah.
So don't be surprised when maybe when you're visiting Taiwan or Japan or China, visiting your clients or another branch of your office, and you see your colleagues all napping, just join them, or I don't know. What would you do? I mean,
I would join them.
You have,
I am Spanish.
Right.
I am the expert of naps, I guess. I am an expert. I can sleep anywhere. Any weather, any place, any surface.
Cool.
Interesting. Like there really used to be like a bad thing if you like sleep in the university or at work in the Northern Europe, right, where they don't have the siesta. But it's changing now. If you go out and chat with friends, that would be lazy, because then you don't really focus on the work. But if you take a nap, that just means you're like too tired because you work so hard. So that's how the perception is different in the culture.
I see Lisa said people in Salvador work hard.
I must say as well that, of course, there's Spanish people as well who work hard. But I do think that, unfortunately, there is also a lot of what we call postureo, which it basically means just pretending to do something.
To work hard.
Yes, unfortunately, I think a lot of people confuse spending lots of time at the office with working hard. It is, of course, not the case for everyone, but I think it is just a little bit more common than in some other countries. And it does affect productivity to some extent, yes.
In Japan, I noticed that too. They tend to go pretty far. Like writing a report, they will write like pages. Compared to a Westerner's report, it's like less than 1 page. They work really long hours. Maybe not necessarily productive.
Yeah, sometimes it's because the boss is still there.
Yes, and they have to pretend working.
Yeah.
And after work, they have to join this, what is it? Like you need to go for a drink with your colleagues. It's like semi-mandatory. But then it comes down again to the work-life balance, the economic situation, and people value, I don't know, in Japan, maybe the hierarchy thing more than family life.
It's really true. Like in Europe, you like in Western culture in general, I think you have this shift to trying to reduce the hierarchy and like this sort of time-based working. The boss is like sort of on the same. You can talk eye to eye with your boss. You don't have to show so much respect and stuff, and you have the more like flexible working hours, independence, less reporting to the. I'm not sure if that's happening in Asia.
Only in the foreign enterprises, right? That's what I know.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I think it really depends.
But like, what do you think about this development? Yeah, this sort of open mindset, especially like startups in America, they started with this idea of to increase productivity, you just give people their freedom and like they would like find their own motivation to get the work done, and like it's less about the time they spend and rather like helping them in their creativity. Yeah, and like like Google is famous for that. They have like a campus with like this is like a playground, right? You can like go out, you can just hang out with your co-workers, like literally to play games like play ping pong
When I was working in Belgium, we do have like a gym to take a break from the busy work, and we would have group lessons at noon. And there is where we make new friends. We do exercise together. Sometimes the job is really demanding. We don't even have time to build our social life outside of the company. Then I think it's really nice that the company gives that part of a benefit. You can create like a friendly setting at work. Yeah, many colleagues that actually became my friends. We can just stay at work and go to the gym together or go out after work.
When you are in Europe zone, so once you are Europe citizens, you can travel to another country to find for a job. These people are detached workers, and so same for Spanish, Portuguese, or Italian. They can move to another country for work. And I know lots of countries like Luxembourg or France, they sign a consent to create more job opportunities for Portuguese or Spanish to find their jobs, mainly in service industry. So you can see in Europe lots of janitors, Portuguese or Spanish or Italian. Some people call these people lazy because sometimes they want to extend longer hours to get higher pay rates. But they may misunderstand that these people are have a habit of taking nap. But in fact, taking nap is not related to being lazy. Like some people, they are really productive and they still take a nap during the shift, whereas some people they don't take the nap at all. They still want to add extra work hours, like they tend to clean slower cafe posts or cigarette posts, and then they still count it as their active working hours to get higher pay. And so I know that's why people sometimes misunderstand that Spanish or Portuguese, Italians are lazy. Lazy people are all over the world.
Exactly. There are bad people everywhere. There are lazy people everywhere. But it all comes down to the economic power. If people don't have to worry about money, why would they work long hours, right?
If you want me to talk about other stereotypes, leave a comment down below. And if you like what you see, please remember to give a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and you will be the first one to see my next video.